I grew up on a council estate in Erdington, Birmingham. There were very few opportunities for people like me, young kids, to be creative, to have creative outlets. So it was quite a deprived area that I grew up in, and it was only when I got to secondary school that I realised actually people growing up in a different area or in a different or a different environment were able to access different opportunities. So when I was bringing my friends from school in Sutton Coldfield to my area and the council estate in Erdington, they were kind of saying things like, "What? Like you live here, and where's the social clubs and where's all this and that?" And I didn't really know any of that. At the age of 11, when my friends would come to my area, and they were all growing up in Sutton, they would come to my area on the council estate. They were asking, various questions that would make me start to recognise that there are lots of inequalities in the society that we live in. And so I think subconsciously from this age, I recognised that I would have to work a lot harder if I wanted to acquire some of those opportunities for myself. So my parents did their best to kind of put me into different drama clubs and things like this, but the clubs tended to be quite expensive, and so it wasn't something that I could do sustainably. I'd probably go there for a couple of months, and then I would have to leave and then try and figure something out, probably go and play football or do something that was a little bit more affordable for my family. But one thing that really did help was that whilst I was at Aston Newtown Church where I grew up, we decided that we were going to start a drama club, and this brought a lot of the youth together. So at that time, I wasn't playing any musical instruments or anything like that. I play the piano now, but at that particular time, I was very much just focused on trying to do something creative, and so we set up this drama club, and we had kind of shows on at the Library Theatre and things like that, which was really a confidence booster and made me realise that actually that was my first kind of stint at writing pieces of drama and pieces of theatre. The thing that I was most interested in as a child was the arts. It was the arts, it was sports, it was anything where I could be out of my seat, where I could be out of my comfort zone, and I would be able to kind of use the skill sets, be able to talk, be able to be creative. Those were all the things that I enjoyed as a child, but I had that kind of there was that issue of balance, because people were telling me it wasn't something I should go into, and then there were people that were really encouraging me, saying I was talented, but I didn't really know. I just kind of went for it. But that piece of knowing that opportunities weren't accessible to everyone was always that through line. It was always something that stuck with me. So when I got to the age of 15, I ended up getting into the National Youth Theatre and Youth Music Theatre. Now, I was very talented at writing, but it wasn't something that people really took seriously. It was something that, it would allow you to pass your exams, or it would allow you to, have a voice when people are asking you certain questions about literature, but it wasn't something that people really saw as a viable career option, so I never saw it in that way either. But what I did know was that I was, able to perform. I was able to perform well on stage, or when the camera was on me. And so when I got into National Youth Theatre and Youth Music Theatre, I noticed I was the only person of colour on those programs. And I looked around me and I thought, well, why is this? Why is it that I'm not seeing people that look like me represented in these environments? And I'm not just speaking about a church context, I'm speaking about society, a wider lens. Like, why are people of colour not in these spaces? And I recognise that, one, it's to do with the cultural kind of connotations. Like I come from a Caribbean background, so it's not really something that is seen as serious. They want you to be a doctor, lawyer, anything that is sustainable in their eyes. Many people want you to go down that route. So that was one thing I started to think. I started to think, do people of colour not actually like the arts? Do they not like, we all watch TV, we all kind of, have our favourite shows, and we like listening to music, but why is it that none of us see it as a viable career option? Yes, it might not be a clear-cut route, but for me, that being on those programs and seeing no one who really looked like me, that actually spurred me to decide, you know what, if no one is really seeing this as a serious thing, then I will kind of sacrifice my time to try and make it a serious thing. I was selected to be a Batonbearer for the Commonwealth Games because I was recognised for the tenacity that I have to support young people to pursue their dreams and aspirations. So a Queen's Batonbearer is someone who will be holding the baton. It's worth £50 million. They'll be holding that during the Commonwealth Games, and it means that they are someone who has been recognised for the exceptional work they have done to contribute and support the community that they live in. Moving on to kind of my kind of faith journey, I've never really struggled in terms of, you know, seeing the significance of being a Seventh-day Adventist. I've always believed that it was something that was always going to keep me on the straight and narrow. I've never performed on a Sabbath. I've never really sacrificed that element because, one, I enjoy resting, and I enjoy the fact that I can say, you know what, this is what I believe. Don't get me wrong, when certain opportunities came along when I was a lot younger, say 16, 17, you know, and I'm getting calls from agents, ITV, can you do this audition, can you do that audition? Of course, it was very difficult for me, and having two parents and, you know, family members that weren't, so obviously having one parent that was Adventist and the other one that wasn't, you always had the freedom and flexibility to make your own choice, and it was never going to be, you were never going to be looked down on whichever choice you did make. But I think for me, there was something ingrained in me that knew that that stability of, you know, that stability and that focus of being able to say no to things actually helped me when I got into those situations where it may have been something that I wanted to do, but I already had the experience of saying no. So when it did come along and these bigger opportunities came, and I felt, as a result of what God had done for me and how far He'd brought me, I felt like it would be a bit of a slap in the face if I was just going to start now saying yes to every opportunity that came, even if it meant that I would break the Sabbath. So for me, because I'd never swayed away from my faith in that regard, and I saw the benefits of sticking to my faith and sticking to my principles, I didn't see really that if I was to do the opposite of that, it would give me any more greater accolades. So it just never really, it was never something I was prepared to do. And of course, I would always try to reason with myself, tussle with God to say, actually, is this something you want me to do? Because then I can promote you in those spaces. But then when it came to it, the opportunities were never really the ones that would have helped me that much anyway in my career. When I think about my Christian walk and my faith with God, it just means to be an individual. It means to, regardless of what people think of you, regardless of what people may say, God has always got your back, and He's always going to, you know, point you in the right direction if that's where He wants you to be. And so my faith has always strengthened me, given me resilience to when I've faced rejection by the industry or when I've faced challenges, I've always drawn on my Christian experience and surrounded myself with Christian minds, Adventist people who believe in doing what's right, and that's what's kept me on the straight and narrow. My name is CJ Webley. I am a Seventh-day Adventist.